Alan Wake 2 is a really good game. I'm happy to say that Remedy did learn from their past mistakes to make one of their best games yet. Naturally, Remedy always tries something new and luckily try out new things in Alan Wake 2 for the better. I cannot express how happy it makes me seeing this team pull off a game to this scale with so much love and polish. The studio won Best Narrative in a Game at the Game Awards this year, and I couldn't be more satisfied as the story really grips you and makes you stand on your toes. I don't know why, but the lore and story of Alan Wake and the Remedy universe as a whole is really gripping for me and has had me invested all the way through. Just all the Easter eggs and the seamless connections to their past games is really well crafted and really creative, so let's see what Alan Wake has to offer and go over the story. I wanted to talk about the story in the first game, but I'm lazy, and if you don't know it, don't worry, as I briefly explain it in my Control video alongside the DLC leading up to Alan Wake 2, so go and watch it. And while you're at it, I think you can get that subscribe. The game starts off with us playing as a fat guy with his fucking ass out, the officer from Alan Wake 1, as he has emerged from the lakes and calls out for help, but when people see him they just think he's a lunatic. Eventually strange looking people with robes and deer masks surround us, only to strap Nightingale at the table and the game end them. Yeah, no, this game is about Alan Wake, but also about Saga Anderson, the new character into the franchise. Saga is an FBI detective that has been following murders like these ones on Nightingale, and his murder is here in Bright Falls, the town that Alan Wake went to so many years ago. On the way to the site, she calls her daughter to let her know that she loves her and that she would be there if people just weren't murdering each other. Saga arrives at the scene with her partner Casey that is modeled after the mugger himself, Sam Lake, and the voice actor for him is the legendary James McCaffrey that tragically passed away after the release of the game. Rest in peace, James. Thank you for an amazing performance in Max Payne and both in Alan Wake. Being on the site, Saga and Casey share some banter and explain that they have been tracking similar killings across the country and want to see if there's a connection between the murders. We meet up with two local police officers as they bring us to the body of Nightingale, where we get introduced to the new mechanic, the Mind Place. The Mind Place is a mental room Saga has where she rethinks the different evidence and clues she has been gathering throughout her life, basically a detective's office in her head. I really like it as it serves a purpose of telling us what Saga is thinking and helps the player to piece together the mystery if they're stuck somewhere on the map. It just makes sense that she's just saying aloud what she's thinking. It's her mind place. It's literally in her own thoughts. It's literally in her own head. So it's a really unique and creative way to show us and tell us as a player what our character is thinking at the moment. It's so clever having this mechanic as it also serves as a data holder where you being able to rewatch different videos and notes you find throughout your playthrough. It might seem that I'm grasping straws here with the Mind Place, but in all honesty, even in real life, if you find different note videos or something, you're gonna want to have a collection of it to keep it organized, which I really appreciate of Saga doing, having different folders for different cases, having the table to review evidence, profiling people, and having the shelf case for the videos and whatnot. If you're your average Joe and don't have a job as a detective, this is just like whatever, cool, but a detective needs to keep a track of all the evidence and review every single aspect of the case to see different angles, and it's important to have a third person perspective off of it, such as a whiteboard or even a table like Saga has with different pictures, like here's Casey is doing this, why is he doing this? It's something really small but made me appreciate the game so much more because you're actually feeling like a detective, especially when you don't know the story. You're like, oh shit, so I'm gonna have to collect clues. He had a knife wound on his left arm. What could that indicate? The killer might be left-handed or right-handed. Investigating the body, we learned that Nightingale came from the river looking for help, but eventually died strapped on the table with his heart being taken out. Exploring the area, we can actually spot some lunch boxes dedicated to Mean Casey, a fictional character written by Alan Wake that so happens to share the same name as Saga's partner, Casey. Investigating the river, we follow some trails and find a weird page on the ground written by Alan Wake saying that the key to entering some weird place is found within Nightingale's heart, but it's not in his body. In order to get a closer inspection of his body, we take him to the morgue in Bright Falls, and this is where Saga's ability comes to play, as she has a special intuition about profiling subjects, about what they know and what their motives are. It's cool being able to see just how experienced she is with just figuring out the mindset of people she's profiling, and you think this is bullshit, just wait, it gets explained later. I was a bit skeptical at first playing Saga and worried when I saw the trailer that it opened up with a gameplay segment of her, since you know the title of the game is Alan Wake 2 and not Saga Anderson Wake 1. I don't get why movies have this need to plaster big names in the movie like Doctor Strange and then focus on side characters instead of the main character the movie is supposed to be about. But I'm happy to say that Saga actually does not steal the spotlight away from Wake and works really well as her own character. Her story and gameplay is really fun and engaging, so I'm happy that they nailed that part, because if they didn't, oh boy, wouldn't you stop me from fucking complaining. I take the car to Bright Falls and oh boy did I giggle when I saw the town again in these amazing graphics. Give Remedy 10 more years and I swear their graphics will be better than every other game out there. Being in the town, we grab some coffee and meet... Wait, is that the guy from Quantum Break? I cannot stress this enough on how good Remedy is of somehow tying their games together and making the best of what they've already written. I know it's not the same guy from Quantum Break, but it's the same actor, so I'll take it. It's kind of bizarre having this taste of games being tied together, having completely different IPs, Control, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, Max Payne, and all of them are somehow tied together, even if it's small Easter eggs, like comparing to Marvel, where it's like, oh, Iron Man showed up in the newest Spider-Man movie for 1 minute, but they're actually playing a part in the story, like they're actively there, it's somehow connected, like you feel it's a single world, it's not the multiverse or whatever. I think I've contracted the Remedy virus, meaning that I am in love with the universe and the games they are currently making, because I actually feel rewarded for being invested into their game franchises. If I play Control, I know I'm gonna have some context in Alan Wake 2. If I play Alan Wake 1, I'm gonna have some context into Control. Every single game seems connected somehow, so you feel as whichever game you feel like playing, whichever floats your boat, you will still be connected into the universe and not left out, and that's something to be really commendable for. Meeting Jack at the diner, he says that the couple who saw Nightingale the night he was murdered are sitting there and are ready for some questions. They were there to get some inspiration on a new novel they're writing and went there because that's where Wake disappeared so many years ago. They tell us that they didn't find anything or see anything except for the guys in the robes and the mask, but Saga calls bullshit and uses her superpowers to establish that the woman took a necklace from the woods that has 2 triangles on it. Having some evidence at least, we leave, but not before being interrupted by a girl, Rose, from the first game, saying that she apparently knows Saga and is surprised seeing her here. Saga has never been to Bright Falls before, so she's quite confused, and even more so as Rose says that she hopes Saga is good now, even despite the accident where her daughter drowned here. But that can't really be true, as Saga just talked to her daughter some hours ago. It's weird, but she brushes it off as the sheriff tells her that Rose has a tendency of just saying random shit, so she shouldn't listen to her. Getting to the morgue, we examine Nightingale's body and tell the sheriff about the weird page we found earlier, and he is reminded about finding similar pages years apart, but as soon as he wants to give them to us, he disappears, saying he didn't want to do anything, and Nightingale returns to life as he kills 2 officers and wounds Casey. Having no other choice, we try to kill him only for him to disappear, and meeting the officers, they just go along with Nightingale coming back to life and fucking everything up. This is one of the things I don't understand. Casey and Saga talk about how weird it is, but the officers just go along with it. I guess it's because of their affiliation with a certain someone. Picking up one of the pages that the sheriff tried to give Saga, she concludes that Nightingale is missing his heart and she needs to find it in order to find her answer. Going back to the murder site, we investigate and eventually find the heart, only to get ambushed by one of the cultists from the beginning. Finding the heart, we take it and put it inside the Witch of the Woods, and it opens a doorway, an overlap into the dark place. As we're progressing into the game and picking up different pages, we can hear Alan type out the actions that Saga is doing, something Casey comments on, either being the cult using the pages as guiding stones or actually predicting on what's going to happen. Entering the overlap, we're in the dark place, or at least an extension of it. In here we find Nightingale and we have a boss fight with him, and it's okay. Just a tanky boss and surprising you around every corner. You have no place to hide, you just have to run away from him, but he's nowhere bad compared to a boss fight later on into the game. Killing him and leaving, the sunrise is upon us as the flooding across the map is gone now, and when we enter the beach we see Alan Wake. I really like this scene as you can see how confused and frantic Wake is. It doesn't help that Casey is there because it's also a name of a fictional character he wrote in one of his books.
Alex Casey? How? Am I still... Is this the dark place? No, it can't be. I got out.
Yeah, the PI from your books has the same name as me. Great. Moving on.
Wake has a new design now with having a sleek suit, well, apart from the dirt, and a long hair to show how long he's been in the dark place, and it actually motivated me to grow out my hair like his, so... Yeah, you can see it's coming out nicely. Having Wake rescued now, Casey tells us that he will bring him to the office for questioning, and he leaves us with the option to explore the area as the flooding is gone now. Alan Wake 2 is really good, but it still has some bad things in it, one of them being the traversal. You don't technically sprint in the game, you rather fast jog, which works in the combat aspect of the games when the enemies are quicker than you and you have to evade them. But exploring and trying to find all the cool shit you can do is a bit of a grind, as it takes forever going from A to B. The game has a fast travel system across the different levels, but once you're in an area, you just have to jog. They try to compensate with having shortcuts in some of the areas, but some segments feel like they just drag on as it takes forever to go somewhere. The game has puzzles as well, which are fine as they aren't too hard and give you some time and space to figure them out. Some of the puzzles are clever as you have to put together your gamer brain to solve them, and you miss them. You only miss out on some good loot and whatnot, so it's not really that important if you miss out on all the puzzles. Alan Wake 2 seems to take more inspiration from the newer Resident Evil games, with you having an inventory similar to those games and having to manage that inventory space. I like this change as it forces you to pick your loadout beforehand and the items you want to bring along. There would be times I would drop my medkits to get out, since I know if I can't defend myself I would still need to use the medkit, so there was no point in keeping it. It's good, and if you feel that you have less inventory space, there are upgrades across the levels, charms that you can use to amplify your bullets or have in more inventory space. Exploring the area and going back to the office, we interview Alan about everything that has happened and inform him that he has been gone 13 years and the motion capturing is really amazing in this game, and the actor Ika Villi does an amazing job portraying the character. The only quote-unquote bad thing is the voice. Don't get me wrong, Matthew Peretta does an amazing job as well, but it's just the lip syncing that can be off-putting at certain cutscenes and sometimes shows you that the voice doesn't really fit the actor playing Wake. I mean, Matthew's voice is really the definitive voice of Alan Wake, but you can tell that the actor playing Wake doesn't have the voice of Matthew in certain cutscenes, because most of the times it floats really well. The lip syncing is good, but there was just some cutscenes I saw, I'm like, yeah, that's not him speaking. Wake tells us that his evil double, Scratch, is in the dark place and is trying to get out, write his own story in our world. Basically, Scratch is the dark presence, but in Alan Wake form. Questioning him further, Wake starts to remember what happened in the dark place, and we switch to Wake playing as him in the dark place. Alan Wake 2 has a different way of telling its story, and it's something I really like and don't like. The game is split into a chapter system like many other games, but in a way where you play as Saga in the beginning and then switch to Alan later on. In the beginning of the game, you are forced to play Saga and then switch to Alan Wake, but then after that you can switch to playing them both in whatever order you want. I like this and I don't. Basically, it gives you the choice of playing your boy Wake or Saga all the way through up to a certain point in the story where you have to switch to the other character. I played Saga the first time to see what she has to offer and then Alan Wake. The game says that you can switch them in any order you want throughout the game, but playing the game for the first time you have no idea when to switch to the other character, but it's fine, right? You can just play one character then wait for that certain point in the story, right? Well, right, but the game shows you and tells you that they expect you to switch in a certain key moments in the story. Having played the game now, I know where I could have switched to have a red thread through the narrative, but the first time playing it, I had no idea. Luckily, it doesn't change the game all too much, but some cutscenes and parallels between Saga and Wake where the game shows you that you just did that and Saga just did that. So for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna talk about Saga first and then the Wake segments, but we are forced into an Alan Wake segment, so yeah, after this. Goddamn, Remedy is really creative with how they present their story and games. Alan is in the dark place, and the dark place has structured a talk show, not really big, it's semi-explained later on. Alan has some memory gaps in his knowledge and feels almost like this is his first time in the dark place. The dark place has a weird effect on people as they can grasp some knowledge of it but are quickly drained from it, and the talk show is sort of a meta playing along as if this was the real world with Mr. Door as the talk show host. Mr. Door talks about Wake's new book that he's about to publish, but he has no idea he was writing a book, and it's really funny seeing Mr. Door answer Alan's answer since he has to keep the show going. Alan has no idea he's publishing a book and he's like, yeah, you're so humble, you Wake.
Wait. This isn't right. I haven't written anything.
He's so humble.
Okay.
Control had real life cutscenes, but Alan Wake 2 takes it up a notch with having huge cutscenes and almost full on movies with real life actors, and it works really well with the good graphics they provide. After the show, Alan knows at least that he needs to get out, and exploring the area we can actually find a book made by Casper Darling from Control. And you have no idea how hyped I was to see him and the Control universe actually be really well implemented into the game. This is something Remedy has excelled as Mr. Door is actually a character from Quantum Break, and Darling is here alongside with the FBC in the beginning of the game. Oh, but oh, you wait, our fucking boy Audie is back and he's just chilling here. It doesn't seem as he has any motives aside from just chilling around, mopping the floor and helping the main characters get to their goal. Audie is such a weird egg because, as we know from Control, he is actually an entity. He has some supernatural powers to him, and what does he do with them? He travels to the dark place to just work as a janitor, help Alan find some shit in the basement, and then later on we meet him at Saga's segment where he's mopping the floor and helping Saga. Trying to escape, Wake gets taken by the dark presence and put back into the writer's room, but having his memory intact somehow. He only knows that his writing will help him escape and that he needs to keep doing it. Getting back to the talk show, we see Mr. Door and Sam Lake. Yeah, this is the real Sam Lake. Like in universe, it's explained this is Sam Lake, so this might be confusing, so I'll straighten this out. First of all, credit to Sam Lake for being artistic and smart with his decisions in the game. Second of all, if I owned Remedy, you can bet your fucking ass I would put myself into every cutscene and making myself a fucking character in the game, so all props to him for doing so. His character actually works within the world and doesn't feel out of the ordinary, out of place, and it just shows how focused and creative they are, and they actually can make a story with having an inside joke of having Remedy's fucking co-owner or whatever, Sam Lake, in the game. Okay, so there are 3 Caseys or Sam Lakes in this game / universe. Number 1 is Sam Lake, who is playing Sam Lake, is just him in the game portraying Alex Casey in a movie in the game. The second Sam Lake is Alex Casey, the fictional character that's in the game, and last but not least we have the third Casey, who's a real human and is Saga's partner. Got that? Alright, good. During the talk show, Alan is surprised to see Sam Lake, as he is exactly how he pictured Casey looking in his books, and this is a nod to Max Payne from the first 2 games. I've seen some people say that Sam Lake implemented himself into Alan Wake 2 to cut costs on hiring an actual actor, but I think it's a way of showing people that they haven't forgotten about Max Payne and just make a little Easter egg that, oh, here's Max Payne, you know, the funny guy, the painkillers, I like the booze. After the interview, we explore more of the studio and eventually get out, where we get introduced into the world of the dark place, and it's just amazing. It has this dark city vibe with shadows everywhere, just whispering Alan Wake and screaming that he'll never get out and this isn't his story.
I'm lost in the dark.
This builds up an amazing atmosphere for the dark place, as everywhere I went I always felt uneasy about what the shadows are gonna say or do. It works as well with the shadows being enemies, but not at the same time. Basically, some of the shadow figures you see in this level can become an enemy that attack you or just disappear when you shine your flashlight on them. Being outside, we get a phone call from Zane, the poet and movie director from the first game, that isn't surprised that Alan has lost his memory and shows us that this isn't Alan's first time trying to escape. He says we need to get to Caldera Street Station, but before going there we can actually explore the area a bit and find the sheriff in the dark place, surprisingly not forgetting what has happened. He has been talking to Alan before, from what he says, that Alan is experiencing memory issues yet again. His current goal is trying to find this door guy that we've already seen. But this is one of the things I never understood on why Alan never says that we have met Mr. Door, but whatever, I guess. This is funny, as the actor who plays the sheriff was the lead guy Jack in Quantum Break that first introduced Mr. Door, being an outer world being, but information about him is really vague at this point. To get to the station we need to get a light from a light source. Since Alan has an angel lamp now, he can take the light from one source and into the other. Trying to find a light source, we meet another character, Stone Cold Casey, not the real life Casey but the fictional version of him. I can't even imagine being Alan and seeing your own creation that you wrote in front of your eyes and then start to accuse you of being in a satanic cult and then getting killed by said so-called. Throughout the times you are in the dark place, there are different echoes scattered across the map that give Wake an idea. These ideas are used to rewrite the Dark Place itself. So from my understanding of the Dark Place, it feeds from the creative mind that's trapped in there, but they don't have a complete hold on that person. Hence why Alan can rewrite certain aspects and whatnot. What I love most about this is that it's stated multiple times that you can't just write something. It has to be coherent with the story already written, and it just shows you how talented Wake truly is with being able to write shit as he reads more. Here is Wake's mind place, as in the subway. In order to go further, we need to rewrite the place using his writer's room. Getting new ideas from the echoes, he can change the layout of a room or entire segments of the map. I really like this, as it gives you so many more options to explore different areas and gather some more loot and whatnot. Trying to progress further, we actually get attacked by the Dark Place, and holy shit is it scary not being able to do anything and just having to run away from it. Don't get scared by horror games these days, because mostly it's just jump scare, jump scare, jump scare in a long segment, but playing Alan Wake 2, there's some good horror moments in there with the atmosphere and the sounds and the monsters. The game does have cheap jump scares and random jump scares for no reason, but overall it builds up an amazing atmosphere for a horror game with an actual interesting story and makes you terrified, not scared but terrified. What I don't understand is Saga has to find page fragments to upgrade her skills, but Wake only has to look at a symbol. I like how it's only a symbol for Wake, but for Saga I barely found any fragments, even though I was exploring most of the areas given to me. I guess it's more the amount of fragments you need to upgrade rather than the quantity of the lunch boxes out in the map. I know they're trying to have different stuffs for the two characters, but I think it would have been better having the same upgrade system. But Wake's main goal of trying to escape the Dark Place is by listening to Zane and trying to rewrite the story using Casey and the murders of the Cult of the Tree. As Alan writes more, he's gaining more and more knowledge about the Dark Place and the rules the place set out for him. As he progresses, he sees the dead body of Nightingale and can somehow communicate with Saga with it, but only briefly. This is the part I'm talking about with being able to choose who to play. We as the player fully know what Alan is saying to Saga, but not her, and vice versa. Playing it, it just felt as the game was screaming to me to switch to Saga now, but I didn't know that the first time playing. Learning more about the Dark Place, we know that our objective now is to go to the Parliament Towers, where Alice is staying in the real world, and going inside there we see photographs Alice has been taking of the nightmare she's been having. We watch a video of Alice explaining what she's been doing with the photographs, and we go back to Saga after Wake explains everything. Saga wonders why she is written in the story alongside her partner Casey, and Wake explains that the horror story needs a hero, but you can't change the genre but write it in a coherent manner. To actually change it, you need something powerful, such as the clicker from Zane in the first game, so needing it, Saga goes to Watery to learn more about the answers, and we see Audie putting an amazing show with his beautiful voice.
Okay then.
Like, I unironically think that Audie has a good chance of having a career in the music business. Everything he sings sounds just so good. Wanting more answers and where the clicker is, Saga finds Ilmo that she saw in the beginning with his brother that own a bunch of companies. He's even so successful that he has multiple high-end commercials with top-tier actors such as his brother. Like I said, they amp up the real life aspect in this game, but they still have those real life movies like in Control. It's really fun seeing them across all the levels and shows that the actors had fun recording them. Talking with Ilmo, it looks like the Dark Place is starting to take more power over Bright Falls as a whole, because they're starting to think that Saga had an entire life in the trailer park and actually owns a trailer there. But in order to even get to our trailer, we need to get the key from the park, and it's really fun. When you first get to the park, it's quiet and no enemies are around, so you're free to explore it until you reach one of the areas where a carousel activates and the enemies spawn. It might be cheap, but it got me the first time, so hey. Getting the key, we can explore the trailer park and meet our grandpa and his friend. So Odin and Thor are in a nursery home called Valhalla, and they say that Thor is our grandpa, but it doesn't really seem that they are much affected by the Dark Place in a way that they are somehow coherent of the things going on here. They say that they are sad that she left in the first place with her mother, but they are happy that they left because there's nothing but agony for Saga here since the incident. What incident? Well, the thing Rose said about Saga's daughter seems to be true, as when we're exploring our trailer, Saga had a life here, as her certificate certificate of the education in the FBI school is here alongside Logan's things. Well, there's also a newspaper clipping saying that she drowned many years ago, and this freaks Saga out as she tries to call her daughter, but there's no answer. I can't even imagine how terrifying it is learning that your life was something else than you originally thought, and all these people are basically gaslighting you into believing it's true. Not really believing it, we get out of the trailer only to get ambushed by the two officers in the beginning of the game, and following them we wind up at the workshop of the Costello brothers, where we can find the clicker, but they take it into the dark place. Needing to go there, we create another overlap into the dark place with gathering items for a ritual and climbing down the well to a loop that eventually breaks off when we get attacked by the two officers. This boss fight is good as Mulligan will be aggressive with how he approaches you and the other guard just sits on ledges trying to snipe you. Killing them, we finally get the clicker and try to get it to Alan so he can write Saga away from the story, but when we change back to Casey and Alan talking about the dark place, they get ambushed by the cultists trying to get Alan. Casey goes trying to fight them off much as like in the dark place, and Alan tries to help him but passes out and wakes up all bloody and doesn't remember what happened. Alan wants to help Casey, so he grabs the nearest flashlight and shotgun and heads out, but when he gets close to Casey he blacks out again and Saga tries to catch up with them only to get ambushed by the fucking FBC that take Alan into custody. This kinda blew me away as I thought they would only reference the FBC and not actually have them in the story. It works so well as when I was playing Control I was always wondering why didn't they help Alan out in the first game and why they wouldn't help him here now. But they did, even though they're still trying to rebuild after the Hiss infection. Oh yeah, and we find out the wholesome Costello brothers are actually the cult leaders, so yeah. Not really having any choice now, Saga thinks it's the best consulting her grandpa about everything that's been going on since both him and Odin seems to know more than they let on. Get inside the nursery of Valhalla and get greeted by Rose, working as a nurse now or having a double job, I don't know. She says that we can't visit him, but she lets us visit the other people for some reason. There are some minor characters here, like the radio talk show making an episode in his room and our boy Audie is just being here. Something we learn is that apparently Audie took the clothes of a janitor and has some place in the nursery home with him having his own room and somehow everybody knowing he's here. I don't know if it's because of the dark place or it's just Audie's goofiness that makes him a resident here, and of course he helps us later on down the line, it's his favorite thing to do. We get access to Odin's room and see he's passed out as he slipped and hit his head, but is actually slowly being taken by the dark presence, but to our surprise we can still communicate him with our profiling ability. It changes with Odin being in the chair instead of Saga and having a normal conversation with her. He explains that this ability is something all the Andersons have and he doesn't hold a grudge against her or her mother for leaving this place. Odin says that Thor is being attacked by the dark place by taking control over the past lover or friend of Thor. Thor, being the badass he is, he's trying to kill her, but following him through the wing we wind up outside where he goes into the river and goes into the dark place. Following him we have the worst boss fight in the game as this bitch is in the water at all times, attacks you randomly without even giving you the choice of dodging. The gist here is that there is water and some small platforms you can jump to avoid her attack. Simple, right? Yeah, but she also has this bitch scream sending a full-on rocket launcher at you that you can't avoid since you're on a small platform and you go right back to the water where she attacks you. It's fucking awful as even if you stun her, the bitch still screams. I haven't died a single time up until this segment as it was so slow and it was so hard avoiding all her moves. Defeating her, we talk to Wake again, asking why he dragged Saga into the story but he can barely make out what Saga is even saying to him and vice versa. Talking to Thor outside the dark place, he confirms that the power Saga has and tells us that the Andersons aren't bound by the story because of it. This is why everyone thinks Saga's daughter is dead, but not her or her grandpa. So I just thought while I was recording this that he says that, but in the beginning when we first meet them, they're like, I hope you're fine because of the accident with Logan. Does that mean that they kind of forget, or I don't know. But it's a really good way of having Saga in the game and explaining why she's even remotely close to helping Wake escaping this big ass entity. Sure, it still sucks because it's powers, but it's so basic it doesn't really give Saga that big of an advantage that gives her the opportunity to actually be a good hero with struggles and overcoming them. I think it would have been worse if Saga was like a Kratos of the Wake universe, just being able to tear everything apart, because she does get hit. She's just an FBI agent with a gun, but she just just has this unique Anderson power that gives her a bit of an advantage and gives her the opportunity to actually try to save Wake. Thor tells us that Zane can undo everything, and it's because of him everything is happening in the first place. And I'm guessing because Thor and Odin have been in Bright Falls for so long, they don't even know who Alan Wake is, only remembering Zane, hence why they call Wake Zane. But with no other choice, Saga has to gaslight the FBC agent in order to get the clicker to Wake. Getting to the sheriff office, we see Casey wounded alongside the FBC agent that tells us that Wake is in the cells alongside the Costello brothers. Getting to the cells and giving the clicker to...
He's a fucking monster, Saga!
Oh no. Plot twist. It was Scratch this whole time and not actually Wake. Okay, so here are some questions I have, but I don't think I fully know the answer. So this is Wake somehow, with his body being here in the real world, but his mind is still in the dark place, as when Scratch takes over we can see the dark aura around Wake. So from what I have figured out so far is that Wake actually never was outside the dark place, but alas it was Scratch, alright? So either Scratch is one of the best actors I've ever seen, or why else would you tell Casey and Saga what to do in order to destroy him? I guess he might have wanted Saga to get the clicker for him, but whatever. Learning this, we fight him with the help of the FBC equipment, and I love that it's the power boxes from Control. Like, damn Rabbit, they stop writing your story so damn good and coherent. Burning him with the light, there's too much for him, so Scratch skedaddles out of here. Having this information, we consult with the FBC agent and Casey that is slowly losing grasp on reality as he thinks now Saga's daughter is dead as well. So realizing how fast the dark place is spreading, we come up with a plan to bring back Wake from the dark place to finish Scratch. How do we do it? Well, it has to be something artistic, so we bring Thor and Odin to the lake and they perform the best fucking song ever as the Taking are trying to kill us.
Hit it!
Hello, Cauldron Lake! Great to see so many federal agents here tonight. Prepare to experience a soul-searing, mind-frying act of black magic and sorcery! This song goes out to our favorite tortured writer. Let these sweet tunes guide you out of the darkness. It's called Dark Ocean Summoning.
This is such a fun segment on par with another one later on, but it's just so fun listening to their song and blasting the enemies. We fight them off, and as Thor and Odin are about to hit the encore, we hit the clicker and bring Alan back. No, really? It didn't work? Why? Well, now we switch back to Alan inside the dark place as we're finished with Saga for now. This is what I mean with the switching you can do. I thought it was fine playing Saga all the way through, then switching to Alan, but having to write it all out now and actually talking about it, it gets kinda ruined, but whatever. Can't say how happy I am to finally talk about Wake in more detail and his journey. It is insane how much I like him compared to the first game. The amount of trauma and more detailed face captures of Ika really make me love him more. The years he has spent in the dark place and he's just filled with guilt and basically losing his mind, but still going for Alice and everyone else. I cannot express how much I love the acting and voice acting in this game, as Wake just sells it to the maximum. It might seem as I'm biased, which I am, but Saga segments are good, but they're nowhere close as Wake's. Although sometimes it does feel like they gave Wake more compared to Saga, such as the death screen. Dying as Saga, you just get a normal loading screen with saying it's not supposed to happen in the story, but in Wake segments you get these horrifying cutscenes of the real life actor lying there dead with all blood all over the place and just acting crazy. Like I said before, Remedy really nails the dark place with how creepy it is, but also utilizes the setting with having wacky moments like in the studio or people teleporting or whatnot. Picking up from the last time we were at the studio, we get hands down the best segment in the game, Herald of Darkness. I've already said how much I love the music in this game, but this song is perfect in every single way. Sure, it's the meme, haha, get it because it's the funny song, it was on the Game Awards, but looking past that, it really works with the setting and as well in the lyrics. It hides this dark story that's honestly depressing in a fun way. Keep in mind that this fun-heartening song is singing about Wake being trapped for years and trying to escape this hellhole. Since I only have gamer males watching my videos, I give you a challenge. Buy Alan Wake 2 and play this segment without dying. It's not hard or anything, it's just impossible to focus on the enemies as the song is just so amazing and this amazing showcase distracts you from what is actually happening. Just insane how well the song works on its own, but perfect with this segment, with it talking to you and finishing the song and whatnot. The recreation of Bright Falls from the first game, it's so funny with it just being a movie set basically, and even the boy Audie can't get the song out of his head.
Champion of light.
Catchy, right?
Herald of darkness.
People don't talk about it, but the room Alan is writing in is just so depressing, and I can't even imagine sitting for 13 years there writing and forgetting what you write in the same goddamn room. There is just an owl watching over him alongside his plot board, writers, and TV to rewatch the movies you find. Something I've thought about with these movies you find with Alan Wake is that it's most likely the dark presence just toying with him. As far as the dark presence is aware, there's no way in hell he's escaping, so we might as well record him with a ghost camera or something and show how crazy he is. Getting out of the amazing musical, we get another phone call from Zane telling us to meet him in the Ocean View Hotel, a location that was first introduced in Control. With me mentioning Control so many times now, I think this is a sign from the game for you to watch my Control video if you want to learn more about the universe and its story. Why I say that is because we get a goofy montage of Zane and Wake drinking together, dropping the biggest revelation.
It's returned, because we returned.
But we also see Jesse from Control on the TV alongside Casper Darling with a text saying Night Springs. Remedy has confirmed that there will be 2 separate DLCs dropping for Alan Wake 2 later this year, and people have been speculating that it's most likely Night Springs and something else. So when it eventually drops, let me know if you want to cover it. There's some segments I'll be glossing over in Wake, as some of them are literally parallels to Saga story, so it would just be me repeating myself. But after meeting Zane, we head to the towers yet again, and we get another recording of Alice talking to the camera and seeing what impact Wake's disappearance has had on her. Well, aside from the obvious haunting he has been doing to her. Getting spooked, we get transported back to the writer's room where we see the manuscript for Return, Wake's newest book, but he doesn't remember writing it and he sees his name scratched out. I get it, you know, because scratched Wake's name. Looking up in the studio yet again, it's different this time, as when we go in there is no audience and Wake is looking wary. Mr. Door drops the charade and only did the talk show to indulge Wake in this nightmare. He is somewhat cryptic with what he says, that this is all Wake's fault and that he should stop peeking through the door as he's putting more people in danger, such as his wife and somebody close to the door, maybe even the sheriff. He teleports away when we meet Audie again, that guides us yet again to the basement to get Alice's photo and a glowing bullet. Before leaving, we get the best scene in the game, and you know the drill. I'm not gonna talk about it, I'm just gonna show it.
I'm trying to way out. There's no way out. It's deeper, deeper, deeper. This is hell. I'm in hell. I'm tired. I wish I was dead. Let me die. I just want to sleep, please. Let me sleep. I'm so tired. I just want to go home. I've written so much. I write. There's nothing left. It's all gone. I don't know how to write. All the words are gone. There's no more words. Where do they go? Did I eat the words? I don't recognize these words. Who are the words moving? This is familiar. Oh, why is this familiar? I've been here before. Have I said this before? I've read this somewhere. Where am I? Who am I? Alan Wake. Wake? That's a strange name. Wake? That sounds like a character's name. I write that name up. I make that name up. I don't want to be a character. I don't want to be the story. Just write these other story. Ram these words down your throat. Make you choke on these words. I know the words. See the words. You can't take the words. I eat the words. These are my words. Stop using the words. The words. I call to the word. This isn't your story. It never was your story. The story is a monster. The story will eat you alive. The darkness is coming. The darkness inside. This is my story. You're in my story. Get out of my story. You are a character in my story. You can't stop the story. This story will go on forever. There's no escape. You will never escape. You'll drown here. You're stuck in a loop. You don't have a clue. You're lost. You lost the plot. I'll show you.
The anxiety, the stress, the manic episode is just so good. Like, I fully believe anybody who would be in the dark place would reach a point where they would just lose their sanity and start screaming and questioning everything they're doing. We go to the hotel yet again to confront Zane, as he lied to us, saying that we wrote Return when in reality it was Scratch. He says that Wake gave up and Scratch offered to finish it, which Zane agreed to. Tries to pull some wacky shit with Wake, so he shoots him, but oh no, Zane is alive and he was just acting. Go to his cinema, gathering more echoes to write about, and even help Saga with her quest by somehow sending items to the real world. What's best about this cinema is that there's a full-on 15-minute movie with Audie and Sam Lake being Casey, centered about the story with the cult and everything weird happening. I didn't even know 15 minutes passed as I was just so fucking invested into this thing, and even though it's incoherent, I was still enjoying it. I fully believe that if Sam Lake decided ever to make a TV show or a movie about Alan Wake using all the actors, it would be a really good show or movie. That goes for the rest of the real life cutscenes in the game as well, as they really grab your attention and really make you focus on them, and they're just really interesting and the acting is really great. Having written more, we head out to the Parliament Towers yet again to Alice's apartment and just play the clip. Holy shit, I was playing this part at 2 AM and I was fucking terrified. Since the game has a lot of random jump scares, I was fully expecting a jump scare here when Alice jumps, but oh no, in all honesty, I think this is more terrifying. It's just pictures going by as a person jumps to their demise. I'm really happy they went with this instead of a cheap jump scare, because this is so much more terrifying and feels so real because it's a real person. Like, sure, it's an actor, you know, they're acting, but it's not a video game. It's not a video game character. It's an actual person acting and doing that. Yeah, we also learned that it was Wake stopping himself from finishing the pages in the books, most likely another trick by the Dark Place, cause why not? Now we get back to the cliffhanger of Saga's story with Wake not appearing. So they did rescue him, but he came back the first time we saw him on the beach. So like I said, I think what has happened is that Alan did come back the first time, but not mentally, meaning the Dark Place took over him and pretended to be him to be in favors with Casey and Saga. Back on the beach, Scratch comes back, luring him into the FBC cell. He escapes Wake's body and takes over Casey, who takes the clicker away from Saga and tosses her into the Dark Place. Being the chads they are, Odin and Thor go after Saga while Wake will try to stop Scratch. It's a nice contrast having Saga in the Dark Place now and Alan in the real world. The FBC agent gives Wake his weapons and a flashlight, and it's showtime. Alan gets to Bright Falls and is just thinking about everything that has happened and how this is all his fault and he needs to do it right for everybody, for Alice. In the Dark Place version of Bright Falls is even more disturbing, as it actually looks like a happy town and everybody's celebrating Wake's new book and think they even try to mock people who can't even form their own opinion. So Wake's goal now is to get his hands on the book and write a perfect ending so everything Scratch has written will be undone. He gets the book, but he has to go to the writer's room to actually rewrite it, but once inside he's struggling to come up with a perfect ending. But here's where our girl Saga comes in the clutch as she communicates him with the Anderson powers to write the perfect ending. Saga's segment in the Dark Place is fun, as when you use the Dark Place is just fucking with you, saying how you failed everybody and how you were a terrible person. You essentially fight the insecure Saga as she talks to herself, who just gaslights her into thinking she's a bad person. The worst part is that you're semi-believing it yourself, because there's a segment where you have to put picture after picture of Logan with the board saying she's dead over and over and over again. The segment feels like it's never ending and you're like, shit, she might be dead after all this time, maybe this wasn't a part of the story. But with the power of gaslighting, Saga gaslights herself with the power of positivity and escapes into the city of the Dark Place, and getting a phone call from herself saying that she needs to give the clicker to Wake. Scratch for some reason dropped the clicker in the Dark Place after he used it. Why? I don't really know. She talks with Wake saying that they need to write the perfect ending, and the only way they can do it is if the hero of the story pays a massive price. He gets out of the Dark Place and meets finally with Alan when they write the perfect ending, where Scratch comes through the door and gets transferred over to Wake, where Saga shoots him in the head with the glowing bullet to killing the Dark Presence, and in doing so she tries to call Logan. But yeah, I thought it was another control scenario where I thought it was a bait credit scene, but nope, it actually ends. No. 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 Mm-mm. 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 Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So what Remedy has done in order to get the real ending is that you have to replay the game again in New Game Plus, which I didn't do because I wanted to get the video out. Basically what happens is that you get additional cutscenes in New Game Plus, such as being able to access blocked off rooms with the recordings of Darling talking to Zane or the player. And I think this is confirming that Darling is alive but is trapped in an alternate universe, much as the Dark Place. So what the real ending offers you is where Logan actually picks up the phone call and Alan survives the bullet thanks to his wife Alice. So yeah, that's the ending for Alan Wake 2 and I like it. I just really hope they don't fuck it up with the DLC saying it was a nightmare or something along those lines. I hope the DLC gives us some more clear answers with Wake going back home and the DLC is just more focused on Saga cleaning up the scum of Bright Falls. Remedy has been talking about making Alan Wake free for some time now, and I honestly hope that they don't do it, that they just stick with the DLC and give a conclusion to his story. Wake has suffered enough as it is within the first game, and even now the second game he gets a semi-good ending, but it would just be good seeing in the DLC him just chilling with Alice and just enjoying a normal life. Overall, I really like Alan Wake 2, and like the title says, it's almost Remedy's gem, as I feel there are some problems from keeping it from being that gem. Who knows, maybe my issues will be resolved in the DLC, but as of now I have some problems. First of all, there are plot holes and unanswered questions in the story that I haven't seemed to find the answer for them, such as Saga being really kind to Deerhead. Throughout the game, Saga always pays her respects to Deerhead and when she gets the chance, but it's not explained. There's one scene where a deer appears and I guess it's something important to her. Same thing goes with the cult in the jail cells, as the leader says they want to kill Wake. Is it because they know he's Scratch, or do they really hate his books? Do they hate Wake, or do they know the Dark Presence? Near the end of the game, Wake says to Saga that the Dark Presence needs to possess a real person and not a fictional character like Casey. So does that mean that the real Casey is fake? Same thing goes with Thor and Odin. They say in the beginning that they are so sad that Logan is dead, but then later on in the nursery home he says that they don't get affected by this story because they're Andersons. It's some questions I had after finishing the game, but maybe we'll get the answers in the DLC. The other problems I've mentioned already is like the traversal becoming tedious after a while and the character switching is not being clear when to switch. Some people can say that you should have switched after every chapter, but it doesn't really line up with both of the characters because some chapters are literally like 10 minutes long and then the other ones are like an hour long. And some of the chapters aren't really concluded in the same chapter. You have to play a little bit more to actually know what the fuck is going on. I've come to approach games in a different manner depending on what the strongest aspect of the game is. For example, if somebody doesn't like the story in a game but the gameplay is exceptional, they can see past the story because they have so much fun with the gameplay, and kind of the same thing happened with me with Alan, as the traversal was tedious and after a while I was still engaged with the game because the story was so good alongside the graphics and the combat to some extent. I think we need Alan Wake 2 in the gaming industry to show developers that it is possible to be creative and care about a franchise while still making money. Activision. The game is longer compared to Control and even having some replay value of getting the real ending. And it floats really well narratively, with you replaying the story a second time, since the game starts off with Alan's narration of being back at the start and the ending that this is not a circle but a spiral. It might be a bit confusing with what I explained and the whole story having multiple layers to breaking the fourth wall, but trust me, once you play Alan Wake 2 you will understand and hopefully be engaged by the story. This is just me being a bit more critical, but overall I think Alan Wake 2 is definitely a game you need to play at one point. Even though there aren't many branching options in the game, I'm still gonna finish New Game Plus as the world is really amazing and makes me want to return to it. Even if you have basic knowledge of the first game or don't even know anything about it, I think you should still buy Alan Wake 2 because you will have a good time, as the game is pretty self-contained on itself and the only thing you will miss out is some references from the first game and some small details from the first one. I did buy the game on Epic since it's the only launcher that has it available right now, and I got it pretty cheap as well, but my friend said I have to say something bad about the Epic launcher, so Epic bad because V-Bucks and bad launcher. It actually has a dog shit launcher though, like it takes 20 years to boot up even if you have an SSD. Remedy truly deserve all the success they can get, and getting the award for best narrative in a game to selling so many copies as they can for Alan Wake 2. Remedy always try to make something new and creative, and I honestly love it because there's no other game developer who even tries it. It's either a safe remake or a game of the same game over and over and over again. Even if they don't always succeed, they at least learn from their mistakes and try to strive to do better. They planned Alan Wake 2 all the way back in Quantum Break but didn't have the funding to create the vision they had in mind. I'm happy that they got the money and were able to drop such a beautiful game and even DLC for it. It's really heartwarming seeing Sam Lake tearfully accepting the award award at the Game Awards, because in some sense they have made it, even though I think the Game Awards are kind of bad on the joke. But anyways, if you stick to the end, thank you very much. This took some while because it was Christmas, New Year's, it's 2024. I haven't even given much thought about that, but yeah, I did have a blast playing Alan Wake 2. It was just a nightmare doing this video because I had no time doing so. I thought I would release it quicker, but no, alas, I was late as always. But either way, I want to thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, and take care.